Hello there, I'm Nita Rose, and in this video we are going to talk about Eden Zero, Volume 30, Chapters 258 to 266. Shiki, Rebecca, Jin, Clean, and Laguna are fighting off the mechanical dragons, and while Valkyrie is dealing with her opponent, she asks Hamura to deal with Aknoella. Hamura versus Aknoella? Now that's a fight I'm interested to see. And speaking of fights, we see Witch and Wizard battling out each other, and we get to see Witch's overdrive for the first time. The two are going at each other, which might realize that the Eden's One is somewhere nearby. Rebecca sees the ship as Shiki is willing to board it. Meanwhile, Hermit gets a message from Killer and told her that the Eden Zero is going to self-destruct. Hermit doesn't believe him because she knows there is no self-destruction, but he proved her wrong as it turned out to be his creation. We now discover something interesting about the Eden Zero. So now we get a flashback of 20,000 years ago where Hermit, who was named Mio, had a discussion with her senpai about overdriving the planet in order to save it. Okay, I did not expect that. And also, why is the planet dying in the first place? Now, there is a countdown shown within the ship that seemed to be by everybody on board. And then Clown comes around as Sister was surprised to see him. And another thing is that he remembers what happened in the previous universe, as it turns out that he was also on the ship when they traveled to Universe Zero. But Sister wasn't threatened by him, as she reminds him that she kicked the crap out of him in the last world. But then he spread this poison gas that seemed to be affecting androids. But Happy is unaffected because in this world, he's a normal cat. Well, the word normal seemed to be an understatement, but you get what I'm saying. He's not an android in this world, so the poison is not going to affect him. Meanwhile, Shiki abords the Eden's One and seems to stumble upon some soldiers, which he likes to take down. But he ends up meeting a face he's never seen before, who is also a member of the OSG known as Lightning Law. Now we get the flashback of 20,000 years ago with Sister Ivory constantly hearing the name Shiki, and she believes it has to do with her illness. But then Witch, okay, I know she has a name in this time, but I've known her as Witch, so that's what I'm gonna call her. Witch was there in the hospital when Sister spoke out that name, and Witch thought it was a good name. Now when I first saw that, it got me thinking of a theory that Witch could actually be Shiki's mother. But of course I am speculating. But if it was true, that would be an interesting plot twist. The reason that I think of this theory is because the expression on her face when she said, "That sounds like a good name." It's like a mother thinking of a name for her child. But of course that's just me, and there could be another explanation behind this. So I'll just keep reading. Happy may be unaffected by the poison, but he's not as useless as he claims to be. Moscow allows him to be useful in this situation, and that is having him push that button, which is the button that has been forbidden to be pressed. But in the situation that they're in, Happy ignored Sister's warning and pushed the button, and then we see Moscow transform into Cosmos, the space butler. Yep, that's what the button does, ladies and gentlemen. That do not push button transform a lovely cuddable android into a psychotic old man that tortures Sister Ivory, who gets aroused by his abuse. Okay, I can see why she didn't want anybody pushing that button. The first thought that came in my mind about that button was blowing up a planet. But this is just discrimination from beyond. You thought Sister Ivory was bad? Get a load of this guy torturing Clown like it's no big deal. Now, after that commotion, we get the 20,000 year flashback of Sister and her doctor as they discuss a new treatment for her illness. After Clown was defeated, Happy wants to know the answer as to why Moscow was transformed into an old man who seemed to be a butler and has the ability to torture Sister as she pleases. Sister created the switch on Moscow to have an opposite effect after she got bored of torturing him, I think. To be completely honest with you, I can't understand any of this, so I'm just gonna skip it. But then Clown was about to self-destruct, but then Pino came around and activated her EMP to stop Clown's attack. But then Moscow changed back to normal all of a sudden. Now speaking of self-destruct, the ship itself still got 8 minutes before it blows up, and Hermit is trying to figure out the code and stopping it. And at the same time, we see Witch and Wizard fighting each other as Wizard realizes that Shiki is on the board of Eden's One. Shiki is dealing with all these undead robot zombies that don't seem to go down no matter how busted up they are. And because of Shiki's love and care for robots, his guard was let down and he was stabbed in the chest. Now we get to the 20,000 years flashback with Witch and Wizard wanting to name their baby Shiki. It looks like it has been confirmed that Witch is indeed Shiki's mother. But is it the same Shiki that we know? Or is this child just an incarnation of him? Or is it just a completely different person with the same name? This is getting more interesting. Shiki gets killed off, and then Rebecca comes crashing in, attacking the guy as her little ship is destroyed. And then she finds Shiki on the ground. Rebecca just saw Shiki die for the second time, and now she can't reverse it. Or she thought she couldn't. Although Rebecca can jump into a different universe from within this universe, but she can still jump back in time, as demonstrated here after taking off all her clothes, as she remembers what Witch said about accessing the ether gear within the body of the user can increase the process of activating it easier when they are naked, which is something I'm puzzled by. Do clothes somehow block the access to some ether gears within the body or what? There's not an explanation about this. But anyways, Rebecca stripped down and turned back in time to the point where Shiki didn't die and took this opportunity to save him. Shiki noticed a crack on her face and realized that she jumped back in time, and then Laguna showed up and that he is going to deal with this guy, leaving Shiki and Rebecca to go further into the ship while he deals with Lightning Law and his mind-controlling robots that are fighting against their will, which is why Shiki got killed, because he knew the robots did not want to fight him. Laguna noticed it as well, as he heard the cries of the robots and they turned into water. Then we have the 20,000 years part of the chapter, which Valkyrie, who in this timeline is known as Dr. Yuna, and Hermit, who was Mio, says that the planet is crying and she begged for the doctor's help. So we see the fight between Laguna and Lightning Law, as Laguna quickly learns or understands that lightning and water don't mix together very well. However, water can conduct electricity, and here we get to see Laguna's overdrive and use the power of ice. But even with his overdrive, he still seemed to have a tough time to defeat this guy. But his belief in Shiki and the world of human race and androids coming together gives him the strength to defeat him. Now that Lightning Law has been defeated, we get this interesting part of Xiaomei interacting with Mother. That's right, you heard me. Mother has been with Xiaomei this entire time. And another thing that we learn is that Xiaomei is not her actual name, it's Luna. After Lightning Law is down, Laguna also takes a fall, and then we see Shiki and Rebecca go further in, but they can't take the ship pod any further than that. But then they suddenly felt a presence of a strong ether, which turns out to be Boyd, heading to an unknown location. Back at the Eden Zero, everyone's still having trouble, as Hermit and Weiss are still dealing with Killer. Hermit managed to find a way to stop the self-destruction, but she needs the keys from the other 4 shining stars, including her own. However, Valkyrie and Witch are too occupied with their battles at the moment that they can't give her their keys yet. But then Weiss has a plan of his own, and that he's going to travel to the digital planet and take on Killer himself. Witch soon learns that Void is heading towards Mother to destroy her, and then we get the 20,000 year flashback to see that the place has been destroyed, and this is where Ziki comes in. Shiki and Rebecca just now notice that Void was never on the ship, and then they get a message from Witch telling them that Void is heading towards Mother to destroy her. So Rebecca and Shiki hop back into the small ship, as Rebecca used her ether gear to boost the turbo. But Rebecca isn't looking too good, as her body started to give out to her using her ether gear. But then Shiki told her to keep her course, and then he used his wormhole to teleport back into the Eden Zero and told Sister and the others to abandon ship. But Sister refuses to leave, as she believes that Hermit will stop the bomb. And Shiki knew she would say that and told Sister that he is going to destroy Void. He teleported himself back to Rebecca and gave her some kind of energy drink that was made by Sister to heal her wounds, as Happy and Pino tagged along, while Shiki took a different kind of drink from Sister, which allows him to breathe in space, and transported himself on top of the small ship, and then launched himself to Void. Void calls Shiki young, or baby Ziki, and behind Void is the space goddess herself, Mother. Now things are really starting to get interesting. Of course, Shiki, Rebecca, Pino, and Happy were all surprised that the individual that they've been searching for is right in front of them. But before they can get to her, Shiki has to deal with Void, and so the two start their battle. While during the battle, Void explains why he wants to destroy all humankind, because he thinks they're foolish creatures. You know, while I was reading the dialogue through the fight, Void stated some valuable points, with humans always killing each other more often than any other creatures, which I do find very realistic. After all, humans are considered the most dangerous creatures on the planet. You just have to watch out for those greedy, psychotics, and shallow kind. Now the fight between Shiki and Boy started again, but it's more intense as Shiki unlocked his overdrive. But it wasn't enough to take down Boy. Now with Shiki's back against the corner, Boy was about to strike him down until Ziki came to stop him. Yeah, he just suddenly came out of nowhere, which not only surprised the audience, but also our two main leads. You know, I do have to say, this volume is quite intriguing, and when I saw the cover for this, I couldn't fully believe it was the actual volume cover. I thought it was just another color page, but then it was finally confirmed that this indeed is the book cover instead of the 2-page spread design. But also I realized the number 30 on the corner over there, and then the title Eden Zero on the bottom, which I completely missed out. I guess that was a mistake on my part, but I was so mesmerized by the design that it really just crossed my mind. Like, this was really unexpected, but it's also very unique as well, along with this volume. And that wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to check out my other parts on TikTok, and don't forget to look me on Discord and X. And I'll see you all next time. Nita Rose out.